Welcome back to the Frozen Forum podcast. This is episode 29. I'm your host, Alex Nagy, joined by my co-host, Nathan DaCosta. Nathan is in France. We're both having a great time. How's it going, Nathan? How have you been?
Past week, personal life, not too bad, pretty good. Lots of traveling. Habs related, I thought it was going to be one of those flip-flop weeks where we're going to talk about should we just sell the team again, although it would be too late for that. But after last night's game, I'm feeling better. How are you feeling?
Yeah, last night's game was nice. I will say I'm a little concerned. There's a few things that are a little concerning to me right now about the team, but we have some really bright spots. And at the end of the day, this season is supposed to be the season that, we're knocking on the doorstep. We might get in, we might not get in, but the actual, the things that will make or break this team going into the future is whether or not we can actually compete and learn how to compete properly going into the future, right? It's all about the future with this team. We're still future-oriented. Man, it's exciting to be 2 points out of a playoff spot, though.
I know. I saw that this morning, but man, we are tied with 4 teams? I think it's 4 teams right now, but one thing we have is a game in hand.
Well, so we're tied with Boston, right? Who doesn't have anybody left on that team. We're tied with the Rangers, who you've previously said don't really deserve to be there. We're tied with, who else is the other team? Detroit? Is Detroit tied with us right now? That's another team that do not deserve to be there. As a reminder, we beat the Red Wings back-to-back games back in November. If they miss the playoffs by 4 points,
tough luck.
Tough luck. Those are the games you got to win, But I mean, the playoff picture is going to be close for the next, until the playoffs, right? This is not going to widen. There has not been massive additions to any of those teams over the trade deadline. And what that means is, you're going to have a lot of these teams just compete at the same level that they've been competing. And it's going to stay just as close as it is right now. It's going to come down to which team can actually execute better. Which team has better leadership, which team has better culture, which team has the players that are going to score in the big moments to put them over the top, right? I mean, if you want to find some players that are going to put you over the top, let's talk about our first line, man.
That first line is looking insane. I already know who my 3 stars of the week are, but let me tell you, it revolves around that first line. Yeah, honestly, I don't really have any complaints from them this week. I think it was Oilers, Flames, then Canucks, right?
The West Coast.
Yeah, that first line looks solid in all 3 games, even though we lost the first 2.
Look, the Oilers game, we pushed that to overtime. We deserve to win that game. The Oilers look so bad. That was, who is it? Stuart Skinner in net. Look, he bailed them out a lot. I was fine with that game. We lose in overtime. It's the Oilers, it's going to happen. The Flames game, though, that first line was good, but Slavkovsky was not great. And this is where what you really are getting to see right now with the Habs is that first line only works if all 3 players are on their game, right? If Slavkovsky's going into the corners, battling for pucks, getting pucks out to Suzuki and Caulfield, that's when you have these ridiculous breakaways and you have these, passes right in front of the net where Caulfield's scoring. That works. And I will say, when Slavkovsky's on his game, which, again, he's only 20. Like we're talking about this guy as if, he needs to be some kind of veteran in the NHL. This guy's 20 years old, okay? We don't have to worry about it. We don't have to worry about him having an off game. He's getting better. He's getting there. He's working on it. But when he's on his game, this line is already one of the top lines in the NHL.
Yeah.
It is scary what they can do, right? And that's what they're showing us, right? And that's why I say, in pushing for the playoffs, that's the line that's going to push us there, right? If that line continues to produce, it does not matter what the rest of the team does. We'll be in a playoff spot. You know what I mean?
That Flames game, though, that was a tough one to lose because, that whole first period there, we just looked like we didn't really want to be there. We got 3 or 4 shots that whole first period, which was humiliating. But by the end of the second, we had tied it up in terms of shots. And Dustin Wolf, man, this guy played like a brick wall.
Listen. I don't want to discredit anything that Dustin Wolf is doing. The Habs did not have very many high danger scoring chances. That game, it was not like, oh, Dustin Wolf makes a spectacular save, makes another spectacular save. It's like, oh, they shot it at his chest. Oh, they shot it at his chest again. Oh, they shot it at his. I could freaking sit in a butterfly, and I would have saved 99% of the shots that we put on net. Okay. That being said, I might only be saying that because I need to discredit Dustin Wolf's Calder application because, yeah, he's been good. I'll give him that.
Fair enough. I know you want our boy Lane to get it, and we can't let anybody else take it. So I understand.
I can't give anybody else any credit.
Yeah, 100%. But
Listen,
hey, Laner.
Yeah, go.
I was going to say Laner the past week. What do you think of his play? I've been seeing a lot of comments online saying, let's not talk about this guy's defense. Let's not talk about this guy's defense. You can talk about his offense all you want, but let's not talk about his defense.
Look, I'm going to point to two things, okay? First of all, defensive effort is not a one-player thing, right? He's a minus 16 or something like that on the season. It's not a one-player thing as to whether or not, a goal is scored when you're on the ice. Another saying in hockey, that says the best defense you can play is in the O-zone, right? It's like if you're in the O-zone, you don't have to defend. It's great, right? Lane Hutson is very good at keeping us in the O-zone and getting us there in the first place. In terms of actual defensive play, his defensive play is so underrated, it's ridiculous. Like, the things that he does, when you watch him, and this is something I got to see up close and personal, because, I went to Buffalo, watched the game in Buffalo, and I was watching, because, it's Lane. I love Lane, and what are you going to watch? Tage Thompson trying to deke around Habs players? I don't care about Tage Thompson. I care about Lane Hutson. You watch what Lane Hutson does on a regular basis in terms of where he stands, in terms of whatever. First of all, he's never the guy who's screening our own goaltender, right? Fun fact, there was a goal last night against Vancouver that Vancouver scored. That was scored because one of our defensemen, I don't remember who, but it wasn't Lane, was standing right in front of Samuel Montembeault. Samuel Montembeault could not see anything. Right? Yeah.
I think it was Matheson because the second one, Mr. David Svard was in the box.
Oh, that was a whole other story. But yeah, it was Mike Matheson. But this is what I'm saying. Lane will never be there. Will never be that person who's screening our own goalie because he positions himself in a way that allows the goaltender to see what's going on. Right? What he also does when he's standing in front of the net is he doesn't tie up actively the guy in front of the net, right, when he's defending. What he does is he watches the play, and as the play develops, he puts himself in the perfect spot either to tip away the puck that's being passed to the guy he's defending, or to lift the guy's stick in the exact moment that he would need to use it, right? He's not constantly battling, constantly vying for position. He's just kind of standing there, and as soon as the puck's there, oh, sorry, puck's past us, because, I've done something. I've done my job, right? Very, very, very underrated defensive play. I mean, again, the defensive play, though, is very heavily impacted by, who he's playing with. Jaden Struble is not, an all-star defenseman by any... He's not a first line, a second pairing. He's maybe a third pairing on a Stanley Cup competing team, but, probably even then not. If the real thing is, if Caden Gooley was back, Struble would not be playing. So he's our seventh defenseman, and we're not even a Stanley Cup team right now.
Yeah.
What do you want from Lane?
Sorry?
What do you want from Lane? What is he gonna do?
I know.
That's like you playing with me on defense. You know what I mean? What are you gonna do when the other team scores 30 goals? You're gonna say, oh man, Nathan DeCosta is bad at playing defense? No, you're gonna say, what is Alex doing? Why did he fall skating backwards?
Yeah, it doesn't help when you put him with those guys. I see what you're saying. But yes, let's go off of that though, and I think we should head into the 3 stars of the week.
I want to hear yours. I want you to be. I'm going to test you. Actually, you might not have this prepared. I want you to put the whole first line as your first star. I want you to come up with 2 other stars because this is getting old of putting all 3 of these players as the 3 stars of the week.
Okay, sure. First line will be the first star, but of that first line, Nick Suzuki's first star. Second star is going to be. It has to be Lane Hutson. I think this week Lane Hutson will get that second star. And then third, goodness gracious. I don't know. Who are you giving that third star to?
Okay, I'm giving it to Samuel Montembeault. And maybe it's a combination of Montembeault and Dobes. because both of them played fantastic. And Dobis got the Edmonton start, I think. But it's really Montembeault. I mean, Montembeault gives up 1 goal in that game against Calgary, gives up 2 against Vancouver, but it was after we had already scored 3 goals. I want Montembeault actually as the second star. I'll put Lane third, but I really thought that Calgary game, we were in it the whole time. We had chances with 2 minutes left with the net empty. We're only in that game because of Montembeault, right? So I really liked his play. On a side note to that, did you know that Samuel Montembeault right now is ranked 7th in the league in goals saved above expected for the whole season?
Not bad at all. I remember at the beginning when he was first, but for him to be still top 10 this far into the season, it's good. Looking good for the Habs.
The goalies have been good. Very underrated.
Yeah.
We've got a lot to talk about though today, Nathan. I want to talk to you a little bit more about the Habs, but I also want to talk to you about the rest of the league because we had the trade deadline and we had some crazy things happen on Friday, which was worthy of discussion. What do you want to go into first? We can talk about trades. We can also go through the Frozen Forum Flash if you'd like to.
Let's go into the Flash, then we can go into the trades right after that.
Okay, sounds good. Let's go episode 29 of the Frozen Forum Flash. I mean, not really because we didn't do it at the beginning, but it is episode 29. This is the Frozen Forum Flash. We've got 10 questions for you, Nathan. Ish about the Habs, 5 about the rest of the league. You'll see why I said ish in a second. Are you ready?
Yep, let's get it.
Let's get into it then. Question number 1, going into the deadline, the Habs were 5-0-1. Was not doing anything at the deadline the right choice?
I'm going to say, yeah. I don't think we need to force our position here. Realistically, last week, even we discussed it. I still think it was the right decision. The only person that I would have traded in that deadline would have been David Savard. And honestly, he has to bring something to the team because why else are they keeping him? So I don't completely knock Kent Hughes for not making any moves there. I think we stick with what we got right now. We're heading in the right direction anyways. Even if we do end up in that no man's land position, which would be tough, we still have a bunch of prospects coming next year. The team will still be fine.
I like it. Let's go into question number 2. Nick Suzuki, with his 2 points last night against Vancouver, now stands at 67 points in 64 games. Okay, 67 points. 5th in team scoring. 5th, Jake Evans has 29. Are the Habs a one-line team?
As of now, yes, they absolutely are. I mean, when you see that first line come out every single time, they dominate. They dominate, but unfortunately, they can't be out there the whole game. So once they're off, we start looking like, what everyone else thinks of the Habs right now. But when that first line's on, we are so dominant. But what we need is some other leader for those second and third lines, which we don't really have right now. Hopefully Patrick Laine could turn into that type of player, but I don't know. Yeah, we are a one-line team right now.
I like it. Maybe not like it. We can talk about that later. We'll talk about question number 3, though, is Juraj Slafkovsky. He's back. We've talked about him a little bit last week. He's scoring goals, making things happen. He's at 38 points right now. We have 18 games left in the season. Will he make it to 50 again?
18 games less? Yeah, he will definitely make 50. I think it's more of a question if he's making 55, 60. I mean, he has really turned it up the second half of the season. I think halfway through, he at 15? Halfway through the season?
Something like that.
He was doing nothing the first half of the season. Now we've got 18 games in hand. I think he's going to get 50, 100%. I think it's more of a question, is he getting 60? Slav has been looking good.
I like it. We call him second half Slav, right? Going to question number 4. A lot of people have been very critical of Patrick Laine's play with the Habs. He has now been out for 2 games with an illness. In that time period, the first line is the only line to score anything. How important is Laine, not just in the impact he gives by himself playing, but to balance the rest of the roster and make it so that the other lines can actually score goals?
I think I just kind of answered that, but with Laine not being there, it makes it much easier for the other teams to defend our other lines, our second line, because you don't have our number 1 scoring threat on the ice. They don't have to mark him with 1, sometimes even 2 guys. It's pretty easy. It's easier to mark our other guys just one-on-one or just playing zone defense, and then it's pretty straightforward for the other team to defend. And yeah, missing Laine is a crucial part for a team.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You definitely see it right now, right? Like with him out, it's like not only the impact that he brings, it's the rest of the lineup too it suffers because of it. We'll go to question number 5. Kent Hughes told the media after the deadline that he had sat down with Suzuki during the break to lay out what could happen after it. How important is it for the team, for the relationship between Kent Hughes and Nick Suzuki to be a solid relationship?
I think it's exactly what you want. I mean, Nick Suzuki tells, or I hope he's telling Kent Hughes the vibes in the locker room, what's going right, what's going wrong, so then Kent Hughes, can make the decisions on what should happen with the team, so that you can build a team that has the skills and abilities to win, and making sure that everyone meshes together. I think that type of communication is important for any team, and I think that's why, I don't know, a team I'd think of would be like the Pittsburgh Penguins. Like, I feel like Crosby's one of those guys who has constant conversations with coaches, with GMs, with everyone to build the team that can win. And I think it's just the most important thing.
Okay, we'll go into the rest of the league and because I say ish because I have a fun little question for you. Question number 6. The Detroit Red Wings scored a goal to tie the game against the Ottawa Senators this past week. After review, it was determined that the goal was 0.1 seconds after the end of the game, so the goal did not count, and so the Red Wings lost in regulation. How much is that moment going to hurt when the Habs finish 1 point ahead of the Red Wings for the last wildcard spot in the East?
Hey, say what you want about the Red Wings, but if we are looking currently, at the current moment, Ottawa is 2 points ahead of us in that wildcard spot. So, although it'll be good that we're ahead of the Red Wings right now, could that bite us later? Because Ottawa got that extra point.
I think Ottawa's actually a few more points ahead. I think Ottawa's about 5 points ahead right now.
Ottawa's 5? Then who's 2?
Yeah, Columbus.
Yes, that is right. Okay,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
Detroit, tough luck.
Perfect. Well, we'll go to question number 7. The Washington Capitals already have more points than they had all of last season. Was it correct for them not to make any big changes at the deadline?
Yeah, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, I mean, this team is on a roll. I went on the NHL website today and saw they have the second highest plus minus in the league with a plus 77, which is absolutely ludicrous. The only higher team is Winnipeg, obviously. But yeah, it's actually insane. Last night's game, they won like 7-3 or 7-4. Ovechkin assisting Protas 3 times. Protas got a hat trick, first hat trick. Yeah, I don't think anything needed to change there.
Yep, I think that the team obviously agreed. We'll go to question number 8. Jack Hughes had surgery to repair a shoulder injury. It was not just dislocated from what I was reading. It was a little bit more than that. The Devils also did not make any big changes during the deadline. So, will the New Jersey Devils make the playoffs?
I'm going to say no. Missing Jack Hughes is very, very tough. Like, what we're seeing right now with, like, Line being missing and no other lines on our team can score, like, that's their first line. So now he is an integral part of that first line. Just the team in general. Like, I mean, you need him there. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs anymore. I watched a video on NHL on Instagram this week, and it was all of the betting odds for Stanley Cup favorites. And at the beginning of the season, the New Jersey Devils were 4th or 5th. The entire season, they have just been going down. And then it took a sharper drop.
I think I watched the same video as you, and it was right around the trade deadline that it was like the Devils got the news of Jack Hughes, and from that day just plummeted, just off the chart. He's going to be hopefully ready to play next season's training camp. We're talking about, what is October, September training camp? It's March right now. That's 6 months. Big injury. Big thing to watch there. We'll go into question number 9. Big news this week. Aaron Ekblad suspended 20 games for using performance-enhancing drugs. Why, Nathan DaCosta, is the punishment for using PEDs less than the punishment for betting on hockey? So as a reminder, Josh Norris got Or was it Norris or Pinto? Got 40 games. I don't remember who.
Yeah, I think it was Pinto, and it was like 50 games. Well, I think using PEDs, even though it does help your team, it's not as significant as betting, because when it comes to betting, you are directly impacting the result of your team. If you're betting for your team, your own team to lose, because can you bet? Let's say I played on the Senators. Can I bet on the Senators to win?
You can't bet on anything. You're not allowed to bet on anything related to hockey. You can't bet on other teams.
I guess it depends what he's betting on exactly, but that is a tough question. I don't know if I can answer that in 30 seconds.
Maybe we'll talk about it later. I like the initial framework that we're making right here. Well, going to question number 10. Big question for you, Nathan. Now that teams are finalized, no more trades the rest of the season. Going into the playoff push, who will win the Stanley Cup?
If you don't say the Florida Panthers, I think you might be a little crazy. They just picked up Seth Jones. They just picked up Brad Marchand. I messaged this in the boys group chat the other day. They have one of the deepest teams I have seen in a very, very long time. Like, they are stacked. They don't have many injuries. The only player they're missing is Ekblad because he's suspended. But when it comes to playoff time, he'll be back. So they just look too deep right now. And they've been playing out of their mind too. They did lose. They lost to Boston last night, but I think that was a little bit of emotion on Boston's end there. I think that was just a one-off game. Florida Panthers winning the cup.
I like the pick. I do agree that they should easily be the favorites. I mean, that team is. I mean, the way I look at it right now, and maybe we can make this a bigger discussion here, is there are a lot of strong teams in the West. Dallas is a monster. Colorado is a monster. The thing is, to get out of the West, you have to go through those teams. I look at Florida's path, and it's like, who's getting in their way? Like, it's not going to be the Leafs. Like, it's not going to be, like, maybe us if we get in as a wild card team. Like, I can hope, right? Like, you can maybe hope, but I don't know, like,
That's a big hope.
That's a big hope, we've been hoping. But, like, yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. In the back of my mind, the other team that could do it is the Rangers. I know they don't deserve it. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I know. It just, something here feels like the St. Louis Blues back in 2019. And when I see a team like the Florida Panthers, they didn't go into last year's playoffs as the favorite to win the cup, right? They won the cup, but they didn't go in as the favorite, I don't think. When you're the favorite going into the playoffs, it's actually a lot harder to win. There's a lot of teams. I mean, you remember that Washington Capitals team that, was 100 whatever points? The Boston Bruins team that set a new record for the number of points in the season. Like there are a lot of teams that on paper are just so strong, and for whatever reason it doesn't work out. And I look at the Panthers and I go, yeah, if they falter, who can pick it up? I just think like anybody coming out of the West is going to be so beat up. They're going to be so tired and so injured and so whatever. It's like the Rangers have that kind of team where they've got the goalie. If Shesterkin goes on a run and they're in a playoff spot, it's like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, there's the Habs from 2021, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you're right that any team coming out of the West will be beat up. But I think Dallas has what it takes. Who did they just sign? They signed some star.
Well, obviously they signed a star. They're all stars over there.
They signed a dog. That's what they signed.
What are you talking about signed?
They did.
You're talking like the extension. Like they extended Marchment? Was it?
No, Mikko Rantanen. They got fucking Mikko Rantanen.
Oh my god, you're talking about trades. God.
Yeah.
Like,
come on. I meant trade.
This is like, they didn't sign anybody. Yeah. They got Mikko Rantanen. Okay, yes. Sorry. With that, we're going into trades. This is officially the section of this podcast where we will be talking about every single trade that has happened over the last week, because there were a lot of them and they were big. We are going to start with the Mikko Rantanen trade because you're bringing it up. Yes, they got Mikko Rantanen.
They also have Wyatt Johnson, who is one of the most underrated players in the league, in my opinion. He is actually a dog. Every time he's on the ice, he's doing something. It might not be points, but he's doing something for that team every single time he's on the ice. And now that they have Mikko Rantanen too, just to make it even deeper, Like, I'd say Florida or Dallas is going to win the cup this year. Even though Washington's having some fantasy fairy tale year, it's going to be Florida or Dallas.
Yeah. Let's talk about that trade that happened. So, from Carolina's perspective, right? They traded Martin Nichus and who else? It was Jack. No, it wasn't Jack. It was what was the other center they gave up? They gave a center over to Colorado to get Mikko Rantanen in the first place, right?
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. I cannot find it. It just says it's between Carolina and Dallas.
Yeah, well, no, I've got that trade. I wanted the other trade. Trade history, trade details. Sorry, this is the whole thing. Mikko Rantanen. Yeah, it was Martin Nichus, Jack Drury, a 2025 second round pick, and a 2026 fourth round pick from Carolina for Mikko Rantanen. Okay. Let's bring it back. Sorry, to the first Mikko Rantanen trade. Right, Mikko Rantanen gets traded from Colorado to the Carolina Hurricanes in exchange for Martin Nichus, Jack Drury, a second and a fourth.
Yes.
Big haul. Rantanen comes into Carolina, plays 12 games, or whatever it was, right? And then we have this trade, right? Where Carolina, obviously they had a conversation with Mikko, where Mikko said, hey, I can't see myself playing in Carolina long term. The rumor on the street is that Rantanen came to the team and said, there are 4 teams that I would play for. I gave them the list and said, go figure it out, basically. So ends up getting dealt to the Dallas Stars in exchange for Logan Stankoven, 2 first-round picks, and 2 third-round picks. From an entire, I want you to look the entire picture. Is Carolina better off or worse off, not only this year, but going into the future, based on these trades that they made around Rantanen?
So at the end of this, they ended up with 2 first rounds and 2 third rounds.
So at the end of this, they basically trade Nichus, Drury, a second and a fourth, in exchange for Logan Stankoven, 2 firsts and 2 thirds.
Honestly, I think this is fine for their future. Because realistically, they got rid of Nichus is the big one there, but they're getting 2 firsts for that. Like, that's the way I see that. And Logan Stankoven and 2 thirds, which they got rid of that for Drury and then like a second and a fourth. So I think they honestly did fine.
Yeah. And I agree. I think looking into the future, what we're talking about Carolina is like, I mean, they're in the playoff spot right now. They're trying to push for the playoffs in the next few years. They got a 2026 first rounder and a 2028 first rounder. Those are tradable assets. Those are assets that you can turn into real impact players for playoff runs next year and the year after and the year after. You know, like that's how I sort of see it. Sound right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, I don't think Carolina did bad in this deal. Do you think? Yeah, I guess so. Mikko Rantanen is worth that much, and then he gets paid $12 million a year. And then
gets paid $12 million a year. I mean, sorry, just on a side note to that, the fit is so much better, right? Mikko Rantanen needs a center that can drive play, that can, also needs a center that has a right shot. Big thing for him. That was not the case in Carolina.
Yeah.
And now you're going into Dallas, who, I mean, started with a beast, and now they have even more of a beast. And you get to go play your former team 4 times a year for the next 8 years, which those games are going to be fun to watch.
It's going to be electric.
Colorado, Dallas. So then let's look at this from Dallas's perspective, right? With that extension, I got to pull this up because I was like, wow, when I saw this. The Dallas Stars, this is what their roster looks like for the next few years. You've got Tyler Seguin for this year and 2 more years. That's not the big one. You got Rupe Hens, is a UFA in 2031. You've got Mikko Rantanen, who's a UFA in 2033. You've got Wyatt Johnson, who's a UFA in 2030. You've got Miro Heiskanen, is a UFA in 2029. Esa Lindell is a UFA in 2030. You have Jake Ottinger, who's a UFA in 2033. Talk about a core. You've got every position covered for the next at least 6 years.
That's nuts. That's actually so deep too. How much do all those players sum up to, like, in their contracts? I know Rantanen and Johnson are $20 million a year alone, because I think Wyatt signed for $8. Miko's 12. Taylor's probably 7 or 8. No, Tyler Seguin was worth more than that. Probably 9.
Yeah, see, right now it doesn't give me a total. Oh, it does give me a total. Wait. Total. Do I have to sum these up? 28 plus 13, 42, 50, 52, around 51 million for that core.
I mean, for a core like that, yeah, I'm not complaining at all. That's unbelievable, especially with the cap going up.
I mean, we're talking about half the cap for 6 players, which in comparison to the Toronto Maple Leafs, who spend half the cap on 4 players, looks pretty good.
Yep, not bad. Not bad. And you'll have a solid core for 6 years.
Yeah, well, exactly. Okay, let's actually brought up the Leafs. Let's talk about the Leafs. The Leafs made 2 big trades.
Yes.
They bring in the one that was very close to the deadline, the one that people were like, what else are they going to do? Because they have to do something. They bring in Brandon Carlo from the Boston Bruins, 28-year-old right shot, I believe, defenseman. We're looking at that trade. They give up Fraser Minton, who's arguably their second best prospect in the system, a 2026 first round pick, and a 2025 fourth round.
It's like they're taking a page out of Buffalo's book. What are they doing?
We'll talk about Buffalo in a second because they had a big trade too. But in terms of this, I mean, let's all agree, first of all,
Toronto lost that trade.
This is the year that Toronto has to win. John Tavares is a UFA after this season. Mitch Marner is a UFA after this season. If you're going to win, it has to be this year, first of all. So them selling a bunch of future assets, I don't know. You know, they overpaid, sure, but it was a seller's market. There's not a lot of teams selling this year. Mm-hmm. You know, we should have been one of them, but, you know, we won 5 games and lost 1 in overtime before the deadline. Like, we can't sell things after that. So I don't mind it. I do agree it's an overpay. Bring in Brandon Carlo. Carlo is a pretty good defenseman. The Leafs made another trade that day, though, with, what was it, Philadelphia? Where they bring in Scott Laughton.
Yes.
And in exchange for Scott Laughton, they give up a first-round pick in 2027. So the Leafs do not have a first-round pick until 2028 now. Also gave up Nikita Grubenkin, 21-year-old left-winger, whatever.
Oh, he was the guy that all of Toronto loved. Because he was the Russian guy. Yeah. So they make those 2 trades. I like the Scott Laughton trade a little bit more. Scott Laughton is more of an impact player, or he was an impact player for Philadelphia, and Toronto will need some of that deeper in their lineup. So I think that's not bad for them. But yeah, that first one, I don't know what they're doing on that first one for Brandon Carlo.
On an overall basis, did Toronto fill all of the gaps that they needed to fill?
No. Their biggest gap is still their goaltenders.
Kind of hard to do stuff at the deadline, though, with goalies.
It is. It is very difficult, but yeah, that's the one gap that, I don't know, they're going to have to figure it out themselves at this point. Yeah, that's it.
I agree. Not a bad trade for Philadelphia, not a bad trade for Boston. You brought up the Buffalo Sabres. Let's talk about that Sabres trade. The big one that kind of rocked the sports world. We had no idea what was going on. With the Ottawa Senators, this is an inter-division trade. And it was a hockey trade. This is not your, you know, typical trade deadline trade. This is a hockey trade. The Buffalo Sabres give up Dylan Cousins, basically in exchange for Josh Norris.
Okay, I don't want to speak too much on this one. I don't know too much about Norris. Is Norris comparable to Cousins? Because I think Cousins...
No, okay, so Norris is a previous 30-goal scorer, okay? So he's a good player. The problem with Josh Norris is he's currently in a battle to play more than 60 games in a season, right? Because he just has not ever done that, basically. From a cap perspective, Norris is on year 3 of an 8-year deal, paying him $8 million a season, basically. Dylan Cousins is year 2 of 7, so same number of years remaining for both, with a cap hit of $7.1 million. In terms of actual impacts, in this trade, it was Josh Norris and Jacob Bernard Docker in exchange for Dylan Cousins, Dennis Gilbert, whoever that is, I don't actually know that person, and a 2026 second-round pick. I think the big thing here is that Ottawa got a second-round pick in addition to getting Dylan Cousins, right? That was big. There's also, I don't know if you saw this, did you see the reaction of Brady Tkachuk after this trade?
No.
Oh man, if you ever want to see a grown man cry.
Oh, yes. In the locker room.
In the locker room. Getting a little teary-eyed, And it's what happens when your best friend gets traded. But I mean, you got to agree, something had to happen in Ottawa, right? Like, that core was not looking like it could actually compete at any level.
Mm-hmm. No, I 100% agree. And I also think Ottawa won that trade hands down. I still think Dylan Cousins is a $10.5 million player. He was just in Buffalo. And
Just in Buffalo.
You're really going to see what he's capable of. Hopefully, in Ottawa, you saw what Jack Eichel's capable of when you're on a team like the Vegas Golden Knights. But with Ottawa, how they're looking, I think he could be looking like one of the stars in the leagues.
Dylan Cousins, again, I've said this once, I've said it before, I'll say it again, is there needs to be a Buffalo discount, It's like when a player is coming out of Buffalo, you just have to assume their stats are going to rise by 25%, at least, to whatever team they're going to. Because, man, who wants to be in Buffalo?
Buddy.
On that note, Josh Norris has a goal in Buffalo now. Maybe that'll work out for them. I don't know. Who knows?
We'll see. We'll see what the Sabres can get going.
We'll see what they can get going. We were talking earlier about, what was the trade I wanted to bring up next? We're talking about Boston.
The biggest trade.
Talking about Boston.
Yes.
Boston made a lot of trades.
Yes.
Before we get into that one, they also send Charlie Coyle to the Colorado Avalanche. 33-year-old center. Has 2 years left on that deal, so this year, next year. Getting back Casey Middlestad, a second-round pick, and somebody named William Zellers, who I guess is Colorado's only prospect or something. I'm pretty sure Colorado doesn't have prospects anymore. They've traded everybody in exchange for it. Yeah. But so they get rid of Charlie Coyle, and then it's 3:30 in the afternoon. Deadline was 3 o'clock, and Friedman comes on the air and says, it's looking like... What? What did he say?
It's looking like Marchand might be going to Florida. Stay tuned.
I heard there's a fun little behind the scenes to this. I don't know if you watched the Sportsnet broadcast. I wasn't at the time. I was driving to Toronto, but I had the radio up, and apparently Elliot Friedman was sitting at a desk with Kyle Bukauskas, and Elliot showed his laptop to Kyle and pointed at the trade. So Kyle's just sitting there going, oh my God, this is crazy. Everybody's going to go nuts, right? And Elliot's just just wait. So a minute later, he goes, okay, yeah, we got a trade. So he brings it over and he calls the trade. And then the reaction from the rest of the room was just nuts. It was just they had, I think it was Biz. Biz was on at the time.
Yeah, Biz was on.
And his reaction was just crazy. They get a second-round pick.
I know.
Brad Marchand. Let's be honest quickly here. Brad Marchand, it's actually a first-round pick, essentially, because the condition on the pick is if Brad Marchand plays more than 25% of the Panthers games in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, right? So what that means conceptually is if he plays 4 games out of the first 2 rounds,
22 games. Okay, well, I guess it depends on the amount of games, but yeah.
Well, assuming if he plays 4 games, the first 4 games of the first series, it does not matter what else happens. That pick is a first-round pick in 2028, which would mean that the Panthers' next first-round pick is in 2029, which is a very, very, very long ways away.
But that is okay for the Panthers right now.
Okay for the Panthers. I don't think they're complaining. They get Brad Marchand. What do you think about a line? Matthew Tkachuk, Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand.
I would absolutely hate to play against that line. That is just a line of rats, the biggest rats in the league, might I add. Somehow Bennett is the lesser of the evils there. You have Marchand and Tkachuk together. God, it's one person's trying to lick your nose and the other's just punching you in the back of the head. God, what's going on?
Exactly. I mean, Florida cooked. Florida definitely cooked this trade deadline. I will say, I think the return to Boston was a little underwhelming for Boston fans. I do think that Boston asked Brad where he wanted to go, and kind of respected that. Marchand didn't have trade protection, but I wouldn't be surprised if, Boston said, hey, look, like, you're our captain. You're the guy that's been here since the beginning. We love you. Where do you actually want to go? Because, we don't want to, send you to, Toronto or something like that. Because that was a rumor at one point, was that he might go to Toronto.
Crazy. Marchand in a Leafs jersey. That's even crazier than seeing him in a Panthers jersey. But the craziest, seeing him in a Habs jersey.
Next year, stay tuned, everybody. When we bring a veteran presence into our locker room. What would be really weird, actually, is seeing Brad Marchand and Brendan Gallagher on the same line. Because, like, both of them always brought the same energy to games. That would be interesting. You got the Nova Scotia thing going on, too.
Yeah, very true.
You're probably a fan. Ottawa also picked up Fabian Zetterlund. I'm just going through the other little trades that happened.
Zetterlund's a good player.
Zetterlund is a good player. 25 years old, left winger. I've picked him up a few times in fantasy, so he can't be that bad, But who else? The Devils pick up Daniel Sprong for a 7th round pick. I'm going to assume that's not a big pickup. Where's the other trades? Sorry, actually, I said earlier that the Devils didn't do much. They did get Cody Glass and Jonathan Gruden from Pittsburgh. Yeah. But again, like what they gave up, it's like these guys are depth pieces. That's all it is. The Avs got Eric Johnson back. Eric Johnson was there before, right? That was the...
Yes.
Big news. Sorry, I did forget about this trade. There was a massive trade between the Utah Hockey Club and the Chicago Blackhawks. Habs legend Shea Weber gets traded. Habs legend and Hockey Hall of Fame player Shea Weber was traded to the Chicago Blackhawks from Utah. Also with Aku Ratti, who I feel like I remember him being drafted, and Victor Soderstrom, in order to free up some cap space so that Utah doesn't have to be an LTIR team. That was pretty funny. I saw that pop up, and I was like, oh man, that's...
Yeah, I saw Biz post it, like, Shea Weber to the Blackhawks. I'm like, what is this guy on? Is he high? Then I read it, and it was like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
He is still
we're talking about the big teams making plays. The Winnipeg Jets pick up Brandon Tanev from Seattle. That should make the game tonight easier. As a side note, Seattle's been stripped of a good left winger, so that was like the depth move that they made. They also picked up Luke Shen from Pittsburgh.
Luke Shen was on Pittsburgh, not the Preds?
Yeah, I remember, because he got traded in that first trade when...
yes.
With... Who did he come with? He came with... from Nashville, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. The LA Kings, the only move that they made was picking up Andrei Kuzmenko. Yeah, that guy. They picked him up from Philadelphia for a 3rd round pick. The Capitals' only move was picking up Anthony Beauvillier from Pittsburgh. Depth player we're talking about. Let's talk about the Oilers, though. Big Canadian team. They made their moves earlier. They pick up Jake Wallman from the San Jose Sharks in exchange for a first in Carl Berglund, which I guess Jake Wallman is actually a pretty good player. They also picked up... Where is this trade? I know they picked up somebody else. Not that trade.
Let me see.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Trent Frederick.
Yes.
From New Jersey. Man, I forgot about half these trades. I'm just scrolling through these and go, wow.
Trent Frederick was New Jersey?
Yeah. So they pick up... No, sorry, it was Boston. Oh my goodness.
I was going to say, there's no way this guy was New Jersey.
Wait, no. So it was Boston to... It was a multi-team trade, because it was Boston to New Jersey to Edmonton. And it was because they needed salary retention on Frederick. Because, yeah. It's costing very, very little for the Oilers to have Frederick. Also pick up Max Jones from Boston, and that other one I just said from Seattle, or sorry, from San Jose, Jake Wallman. Yes. So they make Trent Frederick, Jake Wallman comes in. Did the Oilers need a goalie too? Like, I feel like...
Yeah, Toronto and Edmonton are kind of in the same situation. They both need goalies. Really bad, but hopefully Stuart Sinner can... Hey, he bailed them out against the Habs. Habs should have that game. We'll see what happens. Yeah, they need a goalie.
Do they have a chance against the rest of the West right now?
Yeah. I think any team with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl has a
Touche.
chance.
Touche.
Yes.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that one. Yeah, I just look at the depth in the forwards, the depth in the defense. It's non-existent. Like it's hard, you know. It's hard. I'm sure from Edmonton Oilers' perspectives because they don't have any space to do anything. One of those other big ones in the West we haven't talked about is Colorado Avalanche, and they had a huge trade with the New York Islanders. They pick up Brock Nelson.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge pickup. I don't know if you saw this guy's photo for the Four Nations, but he was looking like looks like he was playing in a beer league or something. Like he looks quite old. I don't know what's going on there, but still a star nonetheless. I don't know why I'm shitting on this guy, but Brock Nelson is a phenomenal trade.
The 33-year-old center. I mean, so the Avs, right? They get rid of Mikko Rantanen. They bring in Nietzsche, Drury, Brock Nelson, Eric Johnson. I feel like I'm missing somebody because I feel like they made another trade. Did I miss somebody else?
I think so.
It sounds right?
Yeah, it sounds right. I don't remember. There were so many trades.
So many trades. And they bring in Charlie Coyle. That was the other one. Charlie Coyle, Brock Nelson, Martin Nietzsche, Jack Drury, Eric Johnson. They've traded both of their goaltenders this year.
It's a deep-looking team. Let me tell you that. They're also... Who are the deepest teams in the league right now? It has to be Florida.
Oh, it's just those three, right? It's Florida, Dallas, Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's just those three. God, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, well, because the other problem is, like, Winnipeg is not a pushover team this year. Edmonton is not ever a pushover team when you have Connor McDavid. Who else is in the West that's actually competing? Like, Vegas didn't make any moves. Vegas, as a side note, what a fantastic social media account. They text in the morning. I don't know if you saw this. They tweeted out the morning of the trade deadline. They go, "Good morning." That was the only tweet. And then at like 2:30, 30 minutes before the deadline, they tweet out, "Hi."
That's
like,
it.
Man, I was listening to analysts on TSN. What is it? 690? No.
Yeah, 690.
Yeah. TSN, is it the Montreal one?
Well, the Montreal one.
Maybe it's 590. TSN 590. That sounds right. Anyways, whichever one it was, I'm listening to these guys, and they're reading off this tweet, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Vegas just tweeted something." They're like, "Oh, what is it?" They tweeted "Hi." They were going insane. These guys on the radio were like, "Oh my god, what are they gonna do? Like, who's like what's happening? Are they just teasing us? Like, what's going on?" Vegas just has that power because they've been making massive moves every year for the last
6 years,
every single year. Did you know that they've traded every single one of their first round picks, except for like last year's first round pick? Like they've been a team since 2017. That's 8 years in the league, 8 drafts. There's one guy
who was a first rounder,
who's a first round pick, who is still in the depth charts. He's not playing on the roster. There's one guy there.
That's. Well, I mean, they cooked right at the beginning of becoming a team, anyways. Like they just built an absolute squad.
Out Nick Suzuki.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Speaking of Nick Suzuki, team.
God, my God, be unstoppable. Speaking of Nick Suzuki, Slav's goal yesterday is never, ever, ever possible without Suzuki. Okay, so when you're watching hockey games and sometimes you critique players because they're like, "Oh, you should have done this." When we have a bird's eye view, they don't necessarily know everything that's happening around them. So sometimes we know what's going to happen or what they should have done. Suzuki yesterday set the weirdest pick I've ever seen in like the middle of the ice. It looked like it made absolutely no sense. And even after it happened, it still looked like nothing was happening. But then it created so much space for Slav to just fly down the wing and snipe this thing. And Slav got to the hash marks, like a completely untouched. It was just unlike anything I've seen in a while, where space was just created out of thin air. Like Suzuki's just understanding the game at such a crazy level.
Suzuki is such a smart player. It's actually like so much fun to watch. The hockey IQ is there. I mean, the way that I actually think he exemplifies it best is how he is the third active longest Ironman streak in the league right now. That doesn't come because you're indestructible as a person. That comes because you understand where you are on the ice, understand where other people want to be, and not ever putting yourself in a position where you could get hurt, right? That's where I compare the two. You compare Nick Suzuki and Kirby Dach, and it's like Dach just consistently puts himself in positions where you're just getting killed. Slavkovsky did it that first season. You remember those hits? Those like open ice, like it looked like his head was going to pop off one of those times. Like those were scary, and it was because he was putting himself in the wrong position. Nick Suzuki, very, very rare that he's in the wrong position.
Absolutely agree. I mean, that's why he's been the first star of the past 2 weeks, and hopefully it'll be all of the weeks coming, because we're going to need this guy to continue leading this team, especially that first line. But I really want to see someone else take in these second and third star spots, because we need someone else to lead second and third lines. Like, we aren't going to make the playoffs with just this first line alone. We need somebody else.
We could. They are good enough to do it as long as we have good goaltending.
They're good. But we want to see a run. We want to see a run. If we're making the playoffs, I want to see that.
I want to shout out Alex Newhook. I also want to shout out Joshua Waugh, because he's now been called up, which is very exciting. I still don't really understand why he's been down in the AHL all season, but it's fine. I don't manage the team. I don't get to make those decisions. Yeah.
Yep. It's going to happen someday.
One day, hopefully, right? No, but Joshua Waugh, Alex Newhook, these are players that have this capability to add depth to scoring. Newhook had 4 shots last night. I didn't even realize he had that many shots. I thought Joshua Waugh's play looked really good. I thought he was going into corners nicely, getting pucks out to his line mates. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. It's what do we have coming up this next week?
Next week, we got Seattle tonight. Big game. We then have a game we should lose.
Against?
On the 15th against Florida. What's the 15th? I feel like that's Saturday, no?
That is Saturday.
And then we have a game next Tuesday against Ottawa.
Okay, we're looking for 4 points. 4 points this week would be huge. Not only taking 2 away from Ottawa, but getting us 2 closer to Columbus.
Yeah, get me on here saying I think we're getting 5.
Okay, so we're gonna beat Florida or take them to overtime. Okay, I could also see that happening. I could see Montreal turning it up. Montreal, one thing they're very good at is, okay, I wouldn't say very good. Sometimes they will match the play of teams that they should not beat.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they play a little bit above their position. The thing I'll say for that Florida game, I still think our first line, if they're on, are just better than Florida's first line. Florida's first line is good, but I think when we're on, we're better. Their second line is obviously better than all of our other lines, but I really like the defensive play of the Jake Evans, Emil Heineman, and Yoel Armia line. That's the line. Montreal is at home, which means that they get to match lines. That'll be the line that they put out against that second line. And if Heineman and Evans and Armia do what they've been doing, that line won't be doing much, because like their second line of Bennett, Marchand, and Tkachuk, there's not that much space anymore.
Hey, I really hope you're right here. I would love to see 6 points out of this week, but I like your prediction of 5. Yeah, man. I'm excited to see what happens. We have, 18 games in hand?
18 games left. 18 games left in the season. Not in hand. In hand would mean that, other people have played 18 games more than us, but...
That is true. 18 games left.
18 games left. I'm just looking at this playoff picture. I look at the Devils as a team that could fall off a cliff just because of what they've lost. We talked about Hughes being gone, not having big pickups at the deadline. Really honestly, right now, my picks for the playoffs, I think Columbus is going to do it. I think the Rangers are going to do it. I think the Habs are going to do it. I think the Senators are going to do it. So give me the Rangers. I just feel like there's a run coming. I don't know. I might be stupid, but I think there might be a run coming from the Rangers.
If the Blue Jackets and the Senators are making it, how are the Habs making it? This is where I don't understand what you're talking about right now.
Sorry. I understand what you're saying. Okay, if the Devils don't make it, then Columbus and Montreal can make it. I understand.
So Ottawa's not going to make it?
They're on a 4-game win streak. all 4-game win streaks come to an end in Ottawa. Yeah, give me Ottawa to fall off the cliff. Give me Ottawa to fall off the cliff. I like that pick. I'll take that pick.
Okay. I hope they all fall off a cliff, and I just want to see the Habs excel. But on that note, I do got to get going. We've been recording for an hour and 10 minutes here.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll let you go, Nathan.
Yep. All right. To all of you that have made it to this point in the episode, once again, it's been 70 minutes now. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. We really appreciate you. We love you so much. Make sure that you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out on YouTube. And make sure if you're listening to this on Spotify right now, that you give us a follow. Also give us a 5-star rating. Helps us grow there on Spotify. Same for Apple Podcasts and Amazon Podcasts. And make sure that you're following us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube to see our shorts. We love you. We appreciate you so much. We are at 73 subscribers right now. We still need 27 more of you for that giveaway. Hopefully it happens within these 18 games. That's all, folks. 3 big games this week. 3 big games this week. Let's get those 5 points that Alex said we're going to get. But I think it might be 6. We'll see. You never know. We'll catch you next week here on the Frozen Forum podcast. Au revoir et bonsoir.